Hello there, my name is Ike, and today we're going to explore the wonderful world of the note block. Now, to some, this is going to seem confusing and overly complicated, but I'm going to be your guide and hopefully simplify it down for you. So let's dive right into this topic right after this.
Huh?
Well, the wonderful thing about note blocks is when they're combined together, they can bring a lot of atmosphere to your world via the note block song. And I've even made this little Jack in the Box song to go along with it. So if I go ahead and click the button and go down here, we get Pop Goes the Weasel. And when the song is over, it's going to pop me up. Just something silly there. I did a little video of that on Twitter, and there's one on the channel as well if you want to check that out. But let's have a look at it. So it can look super complicated. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of involvement. But I want to break this down for you today. And this is just what it takes to make a simple song like Pop Goes the Weasel, something you may have learned on the recorder in middle school. So let's have a look at the note block. One of the things that we want to talk about is if we right click it, we notice that as we right click, we get different notes. Every time we click it, the tone comes out differently, and this is how we tune a note block. Now, if we hit F3 and we look right around here where I'm waving my cursor here, you see where it says false, and above that it says note. There are actually 24 notes associated with the note block, and we can tune them individually, which is very important. This is how we tune songs. Now, each number is associated with a different note, and I believe the scale starts at F sharp on the bottom end and ends at F sharp on the top end, which is 2 octaves later. Yeah, and so the way we can keep track of that is by how many right clicks. This is something new to actually 1.13, so prior to that we didn't have that option. We had to actually count and pay attention. Now, I'm going to throw on the screen right now a chart that shows you notes compared to the number that is represented here on the F3 screen. Well, the other factor that determines the sound of a note block, besides the pitch and tuning, is actually which block we have underneath the note block. Now, each one of these blocks, it represents a different instrument. And those instruments, I'll provide a link to the wiki for the note block, and you'll be able to see which instrument is related to which block, but we can listen to them now. So most blocks, which are undetermined, are actually going to be basically like not having a block. And we can pull up the F3 screen here and look what each one of these are represented by. So not having a block under it at all is just the harp or piano. And so any block that doesn't fit into this category over here is still going to leave it at a harp because it's not going to recognize it, right? So that's how that works. So you can just place your note blocks on dirt if you want the piano, or not at all. Wood, the planks, as we're looking at, it's going to end up being a bass. So that gives you the bass guitar or bass upright bass. Gravel is going to be, or sand, is going to be a snare drum. Glass is going to be hat. So I think that's like a wood block stick kind of thing. Any stone variants, and I kind of went through some of them, concrete, even magma kit blocks, I would say netherrack, anything prismarine. There's a lot that fits in the stone category that's not, in my opinion, stone. So as you notice here, we're looking at our instrument right here just above the notes section. So if you're not sure about a block, you can check it by looking at that. Looks like a bass drum, which is, to me, is not a very useful thing when it comes to songs if you're just going to go simple. And if you're going to go Grande style, which I'll link to his channel because he's the master of note block songs, I'm sure he uses the bass drum a lot. Gold is going to be a bell, which is pretty nice. Clay is, what is this? A flute. So that's actually really nice. I like that. Ice is the chime. I like that one as well. Wool's a guitar. Hay bel's a banjo, which actually is quite appropriate, I think. Pretty cool. And glowstone is the pling. So anyways, yeah, by placing what instrument, each blocks represent instruments. So anyways, check the link in the description to the wiki page, and it'll give you a list as well. One of the downfalls of note blocks is that really you only can play a quarter note or eighth note or whatever the duration of an actual input. You only get the one chime out of it. Well, in music, there's a lot of different duration settings for notes. I mean, we have 16th notes, we have eighth notes, we have dotted eighths, we got quarters, halves, dotted half, all the way up to a whole note. And there are actually even more notes than this, but for simple note songs, these are going to be what you come across. And basically, our duration, and this is something that can become really confusing if you don't think about it, our duration needs to actually come after the note is played. And so for an eighth note or for 16th note, we would play just a repeater on one tick. For an eighth, 2 ticks. A dotted eighth, which basically means we're going to play an eighth plus a 16th, so an eighth plus a half. Well, a dotted eighth, which basically means 3 ticks. So this plus this equals 3 ticks, yes? And then a quarter note is 4. And if we're going to do a dotted quarter, we need a quarter plus a half. So this plus this. And then a half note is actually 2 quarter notes. So we got 2 quarter notes. A dotted half would be 3 quarter notes, basically. So a whole plus a half, and then a whole note's going to be 4 of these because a whole note represents 4 quarter notes. And so 4 ticks actually is a good representation of what a quarter note should look like. So let's see here how some of these sound. So basically we're going to separate some notes by their duration. So we're going to play this one, it's going to play the next one, going to play the next one, and the distance between this note and this note is the duration of this one. So these are actually going to be really fast. And so let's listen to it. Let's put a stone button on here. Almost no distance. Da 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 da. And if we make these, let's do them all the same here. Let's make these eighth notes. Da 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 da. And if we do, let's just go with a quarter note. And go da 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 da. Yeah, and so that's how we do our duration. We want to separate them like this. So maybe you have a song that starts with a half note and a quarter note, and then another half note like this. And that's how we do durations of notes. And let me put a chart up on the screen now as we leave this section, kind of showing you what a 16th note and an 8th note and all that looks like. What about rest? Well, rests are a vital and major part of music, as in they are the rhythm. They are the thing that makes music music. Now, a lot of songs don't have rest, but a lot of your hipper, when you say someone dropped the beat, it's the rest that really makes that song happen. And so we must really determine a way to put a rest in a note block song if we're going to do a more beat heavy song. And the way we're going to do that's basically by using the same concept we have here. If we have a rest that's a whole rest, we're going to implement this amount of delay. And if it's a eighth rest, it's going to be this amount of delay. And so how do we do that? So we let's put a couple rests in a song here, and let's do a whole new line. Let's go and have our first note of the song. We're going to have our second note of the song, and then we're going to have a quarter rest. And then we're going to have the third note of the song. And really what it's going to seem like is you've held out this note for two for 2 beats, but you're not really. You're putting in a rest. You know, we can't differentiate between a rest and a quarter note, so we're just going to have to let it be implied. So what if we wanted to do a different type of rest? So we're going to do another song here, and we're going to do a quarter note. Put a rest in. We're going to put an eighth rest with a beat. And then we're going to make that a quarter note. And then this is going to be another eighth rest with a beat. So on this song we have 1, 2, 3, 4. When we count it, this song's going to be 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 3, and so, and then we need a 4 and 4, I think. 1, 2, and 3 would be in here, so this would be 3 and 4 and. So yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we got to put a button on here. See, let's look at this note. This is, so let's make this one, we're going to tune it up a little bit here. 6, 8, 10. Let's make this one 6 again. Oh, 6. You see how it can add some texture to the song if we didn't have rest? But anyways, that's how we're going to do rest. And yeah, let's move on to another section. Now, this section is where things can get a little confusing and even complex. If you know anything about music, if you're a musician at all, if you were trained in band in high school, in the orchestra, or even play a little bit of guitar on the side, you may understand a little bit of this, and it's actually really helpful towards learning note blocks and how to implement them. Now, what we have here is I have a drum line here, and let's see if we can see if we can run that separately. And so basically we just have a simple drum beat there, 1, 2, 3, 4 beat. It's bass drum, snare, bass drum, snare, bass drum, snare, bass drum, snare. So bass drum on 1, snare on 2, and then we just have the hi-hat, which is on the glass, and it's just going every beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then over here we have some chords implemented into the song. Now, if you play a stringed instrument, a piano, guitar, something like that, then you would be playing chords versus like a flute. An orchestra plays chords by bringing the instruments, individual instruments playing individual notes together. And so you may have a flute playing a C, and you may have a trumpet playing the next note up, the D, or whatever this is here. I believe this is an E. But anyways, so they combine the notes together. That's what we're doing here. We're combining the different notes on the same timing so that they can make a chord, and you get a fuller sound to the song. We're using timings. We're bringing everything together, and so basically you do this by connecting them, putting them on the same timing. And if we were to look at the notes here, you would see that 17, 13, 8, these are all different. And so let's hear it together now. So pretty simple, but it takes a lot of energy and time and effort and a little bit of knowledge about actual music components to begin with. So now what actually is a chord? And this is going into music theory and a little bit out of Noteblocks, but you kind of need to know. So a chord is basically a part of a scale. So a scale would be like C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. So a C scale would be that, and there's different half steps and everything, but you can Google search a little bit and learn about it. But it's going to sound like this, and it's going to sound like this no matter where you start. It just each note has a relationship to the other, and so no matter which pitch you start on, it's going to sound the same. Each note's going to sound the same in relation to each other, and you will hear this. Anytime a scale is played, it'll sound just like that, whether it starts here or up. It just starts in a different place. And then the chord is generally the notes of an arpeggio. Now, these can be modified, but the basic chord is going to be the notes of arpeggio. It's going to be the 1, the 3, and the 5. And I left this separate on purpose, and I adjusted the delay so that you can visually see that this is 1, the 3rd note, the 5th note, and the 8th note of the scale is your arpeggio. So when you actually play the 1, the 3, and the 5 together, you will make, and this being the C scale, you'll make a chord of C, and you can implement this information over here to make a C note, although I believe this is G, G, G7, 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 E minor, E minor, E minor, A, D, 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 A. So anyways, just some notes I put together. And yeah, so that's how you would do that. But if you want to make a G chord, you can look up what a G chord consists of online. And yeah, that's how we get a little more complex and put chords and drums in a song. All right, so the question on your mind still probably, how do I take something like this and turn it into something like this? All right, well, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to need a couple tools to do this, and the first one is going to be this. Now we're going to take that tool, and we're going to line it up with the sheet music I showed you originally, and we're going to mark the numbers, and those numbers we're going to mark the letters on the sheet music that associate with the notes. And we can take that once we've written the letters that associate with each note, and we can take that with the tool, these two tools, or this tool, and we can take those notes and we can associate a number with those notes, and each number for each note and each number is what the note block is. So the number may be 1, so that you click the note block 1 time, that'll be a G. You click it 7 times and it's this number, 8 times and it's that number, and so on and so forth, and that turns into a note block song. Alright guys, so that's going to conclude everything. That's all that I can really teach you about this. I will link Grande's channel down there so you can see a little more advanced note blocking. But I want to issue a challenge for you guys today. And that challenge is to recreate Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars or another simple tune from our childhood. You know, maybe Baba Black Sheep or something like that. Pop Goes the Weasel like I did at the beginning of the video. But take the knowledge that I've shared with you guys and turn it into something and let me see. Share it with me on Twitter, share it with me on Discord, whatever the case may be. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. This is Ike, and thanks for this is me bringing you ideas and tutorials to help you survive and thrive in Minecraft. Until next time, guys, happy Minecraft and see you later. Bye-bye. I botched that up a little bit.